Good morning and welcome to the Caregiver Cafe. My name is Sarah Amos and I'm the Program Director for Cornerstone Care's Ministry to Caregivers here in Warrenton, Virginia. We're delighted to offer you this presentation in partnership with Comfort and Care Support, also located here in Warrenton, Virginia. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. I'm really looking forward to the time when we can all be back together again. But until then, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to continue to connect with you virtually. If there's any way that we or Comfort and Care Support can be of service to you, please visit either of our websites and reach out to us. We have a great lineup of presentations for you this morning. We have Suzanne Woods and CHARLENE Beckett from Visiting Angels to talk about keeping your home environment safe. We also have CLONTS, who's a physical therapy assistant, to talk about positioning your loved one in the bed and transferring them from a bed to a wheelchair. Very practical things. And lastly, we have STOCKSLAGER from Comfort and Care Support to talk about self-care. Isn't self-care so important these days? I'm really excited to offer these all to you. And before we get started, I also want to mention that we have more virtual webinars available on our website, cstonecares.org. So if you're looking for more information, feel free to head there and you can watch them all the recorded webinars there. Let's go ahead and dive into our great presentations this morning. Thank you for being here.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to look to help for your loved ones. My name is Suzanne Woods, and I am with Visiting Angels, and I'm here with my coworker CHARLENE.
And I'm CHARLENE Beckett. I am a nurse with Visiting Angels. I have been a nurse for over 40 years, and I'm just love helping people to navigate the healthcare system and to help them take care of their loved ones and help them to honor and respect them, whether it be in their home or a facility, but just the healthcare system and navigating it.
So we are here today, we're going to talk about safety for seniors at home, because obviously making your loved one's home a safe environment puts peace of mind for everyone. And I have personal experience. I have a mother with dementia, and I have gone through what all of you are currently going through it to some level. So therefore, I have lived this personally, so it makes my heart even more empathetic to all of you people out there who are so wonderful in going through this with your loved one. So, of course, our number one concern is keeping them safe. So you should always have a plan. Always make sure you have an emergency exit and that your loved one knows the simple ways to exit their home if necessary. You want to always keep your hallways and stairways free of anything that could cause tripping. So an example of that is an area rug. So I know that we had a lot of area rugs in my mother's home, so we went ahead and we removed all those because that is obviously a tripping hazard. Tripping causes falls, and falls can be the number one reason for your loved one to end up in the worst situation possible. And nowadays, with our new way of living, we want to avoid that at all costs. So all area rugs out of the way, keep the hallways and stairwells free of any kind of clutter, if you will. You also want to, if you do have hardwood floors, a lot of us love their floors to be sparkly and shiny, but when your loved one is there, we want to make sure we avoid anything that could cause slipping. So do not use any kind of shining, oily type cleansers for your hardwood floors. And you also, we bought my mother those non-slip shoes. They have non-slip slippers and non-slip shoes because that helped her have a better grip and gave her more confidence and not have a fear of falling. So that is also a good thing to do. You want to always keep lights on, so have a lighted path. I mean, I myself even can't see at night, so we can only imagine how your loved one, whether it's dementia, Parkinson's, anything they're suffering from, their eyesight is a hazard, believe it or not, and they don't even realize it. So for us to be aware is extremely helpful for them. So one thing that we always did was we put night lights in the hallways, and we put night lights in the bathrooms and anywhere we thought they would go, whether it's the kitchen, if they like to get up in the middle of the night and get something to drink. Just make sure you have a lighted pathway for those areas of where they're walking. That's always it. And speaking of the kitchen, Stoves. Stoves are, I'm not sure if any of you have experienced this, but I also have. Sometimes I even get forgetful and forget to turn off the stove. So we want to make sure that the stove areas are free of like kitchen towels. If you cook bacon that morning, or if someone's cooked bacon, you want to take that pan with the grease in it, get it off the stove. Anything that can clutter the counter area is probably a good idea, to get in the habit of just cleaning off countertops and anything near the stove area. And you know, you can buy a little fire extinguisher, which is a very, very key item to have somewhere visible in case of anything that could happen that involves a fire. Inspect all of your electrical cords, plugs. You know, people have extension cords, plugs everywhere. That is a tripping hazard, and it can also be an electrical hazard if the cords have open wires or anything like that. It is considered that. One thing that I did not think about until I personally experienced this with my mom is the water temperature, hot water temperature. We have a household with 5 of us, so our hot water is set very high. So when we were taking care of my mom and making sure that she was safe, we had to actually take the water temperature down. You want to keep it at about 115 degrees or below, because again, you know, our skin tends to get a little thin as we age, and it's almost like if you were testing for a baby or a dog. I remember I always used to put the water on the inside of my palm, and if it felt good there, it's going to feel good on your senior, your loved one. You want to install grab bars. That's great, it's easy. There's plenty of people out there that can do it for you for a very reasonable fee. We put one in. My husband actually did it on his own. They're not difficult at all, but it made a huge difference, especially if you have a tub where your loved one has to actually lift their leg to get into it. If you have a walk-in shower, even some of those have a little bit of a lip. So having grab bars near the toilets, more importantly, to have them in the shower or tub is huge. Again, it's going to prevent that number one thing we don't want to happen, and that's the fall risk. You want to make sure that their bed area has all the necessary things, probably to prevent them from getting up in the middle of the night. Make sure there's water or any kind of beverage that they like near their bed. Make sure the phone is very near and accessible to them. And also, we took a list of all of our emergency phone numbers and enlarged it so she could see it better, and we laminated it. So we put that by her, taped it on her bedside, so if something should happen in the middle of the night, there was a phone near her, whether it's a cell phone or or a landline, and the phone numbers. Keep the bed height as low as you can if possible. I know most beds are standard height, but nowadays, you know, everything is like large, big, high beds. So if you have the opportunity to keep the bed on the lowest height possible, that is something that is also can prevent any fall factors getting in and out of the bed. That's just a couple of the many things that I can think of. Again, you know your loved one better than anyone, and you know what their risks are. So whatever it may be, whether it's their hearing, whether it's their way they are walking and their balance, and just make sure their eyesight, just make sure that you do everything you can to make their home, their love, their life, where they want to be and where they've been, safe and happy for them.
One thing I'll add, just from a nursing perspective, because I have had some scenarios where I've helped care for loved ones, and I actually had the opportunity to care for my pastor's mom. And what we found was she had one of the medic alerts, and she had it right around her neck, but she fell and she laid there for 24 hours because she did not want to bother anybody. We have to think like our seniors. They don't want to be a burden. So what we did was we named that the blessing button. And we named that the blessing button because when she needed that, she was going to give an opportunity for someone to be a blessing to her and to serve her, because she has been a servant all her life. So it's switching that mindset for them. And so the other thing that we did was, in that instance, which when we think about children have fire drills at school, and that prepares them to act out that experience. So they know what to do. So you may want to do, if you have a medic alert, call the company, say we're getting ready to do a fall drill instead of a fire drill. And you literally get them down to the floor to feel what it's like to be laying there, have them push the button, have them do all the talking to that person, and do that once a month, set a certain date to do a fall drill. And just in case it happens, then they're prepared. So, some things that happen, when do you call in a home health care agency? The one thing to let you know is we partner with other agencies out there. So hospice can come in and assist, but that family may feel like they need more support during this difficult time. So hospice may call us, or somebody may call us, just knowing that what they're providing is wonderful, but it's not enough. So we can do that, come in those situations and partner. We actually sometimes bring hospice on board ourselves. We let the family know of the benefits of having hospice because Medicare covers a lot of that and allows them to have more resources. So we become partners in healthcare. You can get home care for your loved one, whether you live local or far away. It's usually just an agency that is within your community. You want to start with going in on Google, maybe, or asking around in your church community or in your community. Ask what people have used. A referral is the best, but Google, you can see some stars and comments. Look at their website. And those things are very important. So first of all, some instances, you may have caregiver stress where, that is the one thing that I tell families because of my personal experience with caregiving of families. Families want to be a daughter, a son, a husband. When you become a caregiver of your loved one, it shifts, and you're kind of telling them more of what to do, and it shifts that relationship. So a home health care agency can come in and restore that feeling of being a husband and wife, a mother and a daughter, a father and a son, whatever, an aunt, whatever that scenario is. So it's a good experience. Some triggers that you would notice when to call them in is, again, falls. Maybe there's a couple calls because they've fallen. It could be some medication malfunctions where they're not taking their medicine correctly. Even with the little pill boxes, you're seeing missed doses, okay? You could also need someone, because, you just want to have that peace of mind knowing somebody's there. It can be companionship for that loved one because it does get lonely and isolated, especially in these times. We've gotten many calls because families know that their loved one has been isolated and during this experience of COVID. So no matter what is going on, there could be other things in the community that could cause isolation. Maybe they're not able to get out as much, where caregivers can take them out in different circumstances. They can take them out shopping. They can take them to get their nails done. They can take them to some group activities that they're used to their church or church groups. They can help prepare meals to help them get adequate nutrition, because a lot of times, and safely prepared meals. Sometimes it's nice because somebody has been kind of banned from the stove, and so that caregiver can come in, and that person has loved to cook. And so now they cook together safely, and they make some meals for a couple days in advance. So there's a relationship building there. Caregivers can assist with bathing safely, like we talked about, that safe space in the bathroom, making sure they don't fall. A caregiver can help with grooming, because that might be something that's really important to them, and they have arthritis and they're limited and they can't get their hand up above their head, and so they can do things that make them feel good about themselves with dignity and respect as they grow older. Keeping them in their homes, that's usually very important to them. So we sometimes have to make other choices, but even if you make a choice of moving someone into an assisted living, or maybe there's just no other option and you need to do that, it's always good to take the caregiver with them for that period of time of transition, because that is security for them. If that's been in place and they transition to another facility, it's really good to keep that caregiver in place. It's kind of like having the rug pulled out from underneath of you, and all that you know that's safe and secure, that becomes a comfort, like a blanket for a baby that goes with them. And so, you know, home care can be for different ages and different needs. I can tell you a lot of agencies, such as our own, specialize in caring for seniors with dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and stroke. And so anyway, we are grateful to partner with our healthcare agencies in the community. Our heart is for helping people. Yes. We both have mothers that are experiencing some dementia. So we come not only to you professionally, but personally. We have a heart for knowing how hard it is. We're open for questions. You can call us and just simply ask us questions. Let us be a resource for you navigating that system, the healthcare system, because it can be very daunting and confusing. So, you know, it's always better to pick up the phone and make an informed decision than to wonder. And, you know, knowing that really people in healthcare have a heart for helping you. So with that, I'll close. And if we can be of any assistance, let us know. And we're so glad to be here today and to help you.
Hi, my name is Marie CLONTS. I'm a member of Cornerstone Baptist Church, and I'm involved with the caregiver ministry training. By trade, I'm a physical therapist assistant. I have worked in hospitals, rehab facilities, and home health settings for almost 30 years. And I really commend you for what you are doing, caring for your family member or loved one, a neighbor, friend, whoever it may be. I really commend you for what you're doing. I hope you know that we definitely pray for you through through our ministry. And I'm going to spend some time showing you how to care for the person that you're caring for and care for yourself also, how to maneuver on the bed, how to get up and down on the bed, in and out of the bed, ways that will do this safely and with the least amount of discomfort to you and the person that you're caring for. One of the things I would like to say is what I'm going to show you is very generalized. The person you're caring for will have specific medical diagnoses. They may have restrictions or limitations. And those have to supersede anything that I'm telling you or showing you. You also may have some medical issues. You may have your own limitations. So the things that we're showing you are very general and very generic. If you have any safety concerns or questions, I would highly recommend that you clarify through your physician or physical or occupational therapy what will help you and the person that you're caring for the most. And I hope that what I'm about to show you is helpful. All right, the first thing that I'm going to show you how to do is help to position your loved one in the bed and turn them and move them on the bed. Sarah is my model. So here we go. You have to watch out for bony areas. The biggest problem could be right here on the tailbone. The second biggest problem is the heels. There's not a lot of padding or meat over those two areas, and if there's a lot of pressure from the person's weight down and pressure of the bed pushing up, that can cause to get a sore on your backside or on your heels. So you want to be very cautious to provide what we call pressure relief, and I'm going to show you a few ways to do that. I'm going to go ahead and take this pillow, and I'm going to lift Sarah's leg, and I'm going to put her leg on the pillow. Now, she's going to go ahead and relax her leg down. I like to put the pillow long ways because I like to have some support under the knee. And what I've done is I have gathered up the pillow just enough so that there is no pressure on her heel. What we call that is floating the heels. So her leg is elevated, her weight is distributed along the length of the pillow, but we have relieved the pressure on the heels and decreasing the risk of her getting a sore on her heels. So I wanted to show you that. When someone is lying on their back, you might want to have them change positions pretty regularly. You don't want a person to stay in the same position all the time, because without pressure relief, again, there can be the risk of developing a sore. So we talked about elevating the heels. You can go ahead and use, if you have electric hospital bed, as we do, you can use the electrics. Sometimes you can put the head up a little bit. Sometimes you can put the feet up a little bit. Okay. Now, this is a nice position for a short period of time, but you don't want to leave a person like this too long. A lot of people like to elevate the feet because it keeps the person from sliding down in the bed, and they like to elevate the head for comfort so the person could look around. And that is good for a short period of time, but not a long time, because again, that's a lot of pressure on the backside. So make sure probably every maybe hour to 2 hours during the daytime or during rest periods that you're changing positions. I'm going to show you now how to help somebody to position on their side, and pillows are one of my best friends. Okay, so what I have here, I'm also a big fan of what I call a draw sheet. You want to take an extra sheet and you want to have it placed between the person's shoulders and a little bit under the buttocks. That will help you to scoot a person from the left side to the right side. I am just realizing I forgot to put an actual draw sheet under here, so I'm going to make do with what I have. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Sarah to bend up her knees, just one at a time. You don't want to rush. There we go. Now Sarah's right in the middle of the bed, which is good. But if we're going to change positions and go on her side, we do not want her to be on the edge of the bed when she's on her side, because that could be dangerous. We want her to be in the middle of the bed when she's on her side. So what I'm going to ask her to do is put her hands across her chest. I'm going to adapt my draw sheet here. So this is, there we go, excuse me, Sarah.
That's okay.
So you want, as the caregiver, you want to protect yourself. And I have a little phrase, it's a little bit tacky, but you'll probably remember it. I always tell people, tighten your butt and tighten your gut. So whenever you're working, squeeze your buttock muscles together, pull your belly button back towards your spine, okay? That's gonna help protect you. You want to avoid bending, twisting, rotating motions. You don't want to be doing things like this or like this. You always want to have your feet apart. Bend your knees, work through your thighs and your buttock muscles. These are big, powerful muscles. They're much stronger than your back muscles or your arm muscles. If you need to brace yourself against the bed. So what we're going to do is we're going to just scoot Sarah over. Always go slowly. You don't want to do things quickly. It can scare a person. It can also cause them to react and do the opposite of what you're asking them to do. So we have scooted to the left, and now we're going to roll to the right. So what I'm going to do is walk around. I have the bed rail is up already. If you have a bed rail, that's terrific. If you can get a hold of one, that's really nice. This one is a full bed rail. Let me pause for just a moment and say bed rails are terrific as long as your loved one is not trying to get over top of the bed rail. It's going to be great now. Sarah's going to use it to help us roll in position. But again, if your loved one is active enough that they may try to climb over the bed rail, that could cause even more harm than if you leave the bed rail down. So you want to consider that. So when you're asking your person to roll to the side, I would ask that you not do this. Don't take their hand and pull. You could hurt their wrist or their arm or their shoulder. And it turns into a tug of war often. Again, the person may be a little bit surprised. So if you pull, they may resist and pull back. So we don't want to hurt them and we don't want to scare them. So what I would recommend is I also tell people, talk before you touch. You want to come so the person can see you, and you want to explain to them what you're going to do before you do it, because that'll give them a chance to kind of get on board with what's happening next. So what I'm going to have Sarah do, her knees are bent up, her arms are crossed. I'm going to say, Sarah, we're going to roll to your right side. And what I'm doing is I'm bracing here, and I'm going to use the draw sheet, and very gently, I'm going to ask Sarah to go ahead and reach over for the rail. If she can help me, I'm going to use the draw sheet and help her to roll onto her side. Okay? And I've got the draw sheet here at the heaviest part of everyone's body. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple more things. She's on her side, and this is good, but we're not quite done yet. All right, so what I'm going to do is get my next pillow. You definitely want to go to Walmart and get your different lengths of pillows. And what I'm going to do, I'm folding this pillow in half, and I always put the folded side toward the person, and I'm going to lift up my draw sheet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pillow here. If you have a second person to help you with this, it's a little easier. I'm going to use the draw sheet and overroll her just a little bit. And I'm going to put the pillow in place. And I put it underneath of the draw sheet, as you could see. And then I'm going to ask Sarah to relax a little bit. This will help keep her on her back. And also with your draw sheet on top, if your loved one is incontinent, you keep your incontinence pads on top, and it will help protect your pillow. All right, so we're getting there. This is good, but again, we don't want to have bony surfaces together. We don't want to have the knees and the ankles bones rubbing on each other. Unless your person is very short, usually a longer pillow does well with this. So I'm going to ask Sarah to help me lift her leg. And I'm going to take this pillow, I'm going to put it in place like this, and then I'm just going to have her relax her legs. Now, you may not want to have the legs exactly over top of each other. And before I go away from this position, I just do a little settle just to make sure that her leg doesn't slide off. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do, you might want a little bit of a shorter pillow, but it might feel a little weird to be on your side. So I kind of find a snuggly pillow, and I have the person gently raise their arm and just rest the pillow there. You may have to adjust that, but that helps keep the person in alignment. Their neck, their back, hips, knees are all in alignment, so they're not twisted or rotated. So that might help them to sleep more comfortably. And then of course you would do the same thing on the other side. How do you feel, Sarah?
I feel very comfortable.
Yay! If you do have these side rails, you may want to think about, excuse me, I'm out of the picture. Inexpensive is blankets. You may want to do a little padding here just to make sure that the person's knees, arms don't end up getting pressure from the railings if you have the railings. Alrighty. And then you would obviously do the same thing on the other side. The thing that I would warn against, I would not stay on this side and have Sarah roll to the other side. I would walk around, and I always recommend that you have your person roll towards you. It's a little bit safer. Every once in a while you might not realize your strength, and you might start to roll with the person and they might start to roll, and if that railing is down, things might get a little out of hand. So have them always roll towards you. Also, if they can see you, they're going to feel more confident and more safe than if they're going away from you. I'd like to show you how to assist someone who has scooted to the foot of the bed. Sometimes when the head of the bed is up, or even when it's flat, gravity is always hard at work. And when you come in to see the person you're caring for, they have got down into a low position. For the sake of time, I have already put Sarah in what I call the upside down position, or it's called the Trendelenburg position. You want the head of the bed low and you want the foot of the bed high. Again, we want to use gravity. We're going to assist Sarah to scoot up in the bed. If Sarah can assist us, we want her to hold on to the rails and pull herself up on the rails. If Sarah can assist from the headboard, we want her to put her hands on the headboard and pull herself up. If that's not a safe decision, you want Sarah to cross her arms. I have my draw sheet underneath of me, underneath of Sarah. So we're going to ask Sarah to go ahead and bend up her knees one at a time. There we go. One of the reasons you want to do this is Sarah may be able to help us push up in the bed. The other reason you want to bend up these knees is because, as we talked before, the heels do not have a lot of padding on them, and if you were to just drag her up in the bed, that could cause a shearing on the heels, and we want to avoid that. If you have two caregivers, we would ask Sarah to cross her arms. We're going to maintain our good body mechanics, tight, tight, knees are apart. We were going to use the draw sheet, knuckles are up. We want to make sure that there's no slack in the draw sheet, so do a test of your draw sheet to make sure there's no slack. You coordinate with the person, and on a count of 3, you tell Sarah to push through her knees or push through her feet, and you don't drag the person up the bed. You want to lift just an inch or two to clear the bottom so that you're not dragging that buttock, which is very bony, and we don't want to create any shearing. But you don't have to lift them way up in the air, just an inch or so. And you look together, and no twisting, no turning, no reaching. Say 1, 2, 3, up and up in the bed. And you don't need to do it all in one motion. If you need to do it a couple of times, that's better than trying to overdo it one time. Also, please don't get too excited that you accidentally bang their head into the headboard. The more likely scenario is that you're going to be taking care of your loved one by yourself. And something that I like to do, if the bed is positioned so that you can do it, I'm going to move the pillow from under Sarah's head. There we go. I did forget to mention, when you do move your person, you do want to ask them if they can to tuck their chin, again, so you don't drag the head or cause the head to tip backwards. I'm going to go to the head of the bed. I'm going to brace against the head of the bed, okay, with my good body mechanics. Sarah's feet are up, her arms are crossed. I'm going to use my draw sheet. Okay, my knuckles are up. I don't want to pull her hair. I don't want to have any slack. And I'm going to ask Sarah to push. And this time we're really going to go up in the bed. Are you ready, Sarah? 1, 2, 3. See, we don't have to do it all at once. All right, you may have to walk down or just ask her to bend up her knees again and see how she can use the bed and using gravity. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Everybody is different. What I'm telling you might not work for the person that you're caring for. They might have a medical diagnosis, they might have a precaution that will be directly against what I'm showing you how to do. This is just a very general way of helping a person to sit up while you are maintaining your own body mechanics, protecting your body. But again, this may be exactly the opposite of what you can do. The person may have to get out of bed on the other side. They may have to move to the other side. Your bed might be up against a wall. They may have an injury that's preventing them. So again, this is just very general information. Before we sit up, the one thing I wanted to mention, if you have the electric bed, before you let your person take their nap or go to sleep, I would recommend that you lower the bed to the lowest position. It's great to have the bed up high while you're working with your person. That way you're not having to bend and stoop over. But before you leave, if you can, go ahead and lower that bed to the lowest position. I'm going to ask Sarah to bend up her knees for me one at a time. There we go. And of course the railing is down now, and I'm going to ask Sarah to roll toward me. So I'm going to have her reach across, and she can catch onto the edge of the bed, and she's going to roll to her side. Okay. Now very carefully, we're just going to bring her heels over the edge of the bed. Very careful. Now if your person is a tiny bit bottom heavy, you may want to use your draw sheet. Again, tight embrace. You can scoop the hips forward a little bit. You do not want your person too close to the edge of the bed before they sit up. That's very dangerous. When they roll, you want to make sure that they're back on the bed before you bring the legs off. If they're very close to the edge of the bed and you start to sit up and the person leans back, that could put everyone in an unsafe situation. So make sure the hips are where they need to be, a little bit back on the bed. Okay, so we've cleared Sarah's heels so that they don't catch on the bed. What I'm going to ask Sarah to do now, again, what I see a lot of times is it's time to sit up and we pull. Okay, that can really hurt or harm a person. And they may even reach for you, but I would really recommend against that. The other thing that might happen is you might go in and you might say, Sarah, we're going to sit up, and Sarah just grabs onto the back of my neck so that I can pull her up. Your neck muscles are not meant for lifting. So if the person really feels like they need to hold on to you for comfort, maybe they can hold your sleeve, they could hold the back of your arm, or they could hold you around your back. But you don't want to pull on them, and you don't want them pulling on your neck. So I can allow Sarah to do that. But what I'm going to ask her to do, if she's able, is I'm going to ask her to push up. So I'm going to go behind here, behind her shoulders. I'm not going to pull on her neck. I'm going to pull on, get her shoulders, and she's going to push to her elbow. She's going to get her elbow up underneath of her. And if she needs to, she can put her hand here. See my good body mechanics? And we go slowly. And then I'm going to have Sarah go ahead and push all the way up to sit. Okay. Now, this is also a potentially dangerous time. I'm going to go on the other side. Not sure if you can see me. When a person changes positions, they could get dizzy. When they go to sit up, a lot of times their blood pressure drops just because of the change of position. So this is not a time that you would want to walk away to go get something. You want to make sure that the person is not dizzy or lightheaded. Some things that you can do if you're worried about their balance, you can put several pillows behind them. That way, if they were to lose their balance and you could not maintain them or assist them, they wouldn't go too far. Okay, have a glass of water nearby. If your loved one is able to drink water, keep a glass of water nearby and have them get something to drink. You can also have them tap their toes. Tell them to tap their toes up and down and kick their legs up and down. That's going to help get that return of circulation and keep them from getting dizzy. You don't want the person to stand up and get out of the bed until you know they're not dizzy. So you want to give that a minute or two just to make sure. I want to talk about the parts of the wheelchair. My favorite part of the wheelchair is the draw sheet. I like to have a draw sheet underneath of a person. That way, if the person you're caring for, they may start to slide forward, their shoulders back, their bottom comes out to the edge. This gives you the opportunity to help scoot them back in the chair without pulling up on their britches. I always like to leave a little tail, extra tail at the bottom of the draw sheet. That way when you pull them back, you haven't pulled the draw sheet out from underneath of them. If you start with it in the middle and you pull, that'll be all. So you want to make sure to have extra tail hanging down. Before you assist a person with a transfer, I'm going to move the draw sheet out of the way so you can see. You always want the wheels to be facing underneath. You don't want the wheels to be out to the side, and you don't want them to be in front. If they're like this, you could trip, the person you're caring for could trip. Very dangerous. Make sure they're tucked underneath. So now we're going to talk about the leg pedals. Like cars, they're all the same, but they're all different. So I want to show you about the leg pedals. You have to have a little bit of spatial ability here. So I usually recommend that you take both leg pedals so you can figure out the left and the right. You want to look at it and make sure, because it's very easy to get them backwards. So just take a look at them. Okay. When you put the leg pedal on, you will not be able to put it on forward. That just doesn't work very well. You need to put it on out from the side. You have 2 holes here and 2 pins here. You want to go ahead and set the holes on the pins out to the side. Then you want to swing it in place, and you need to listen for the click. Now, we heard a click, but like many wheelchairs I work with, it's actually not in place yet. So even though you heard the click, you need to take the metal piece and push it in place. Then your wheelchair is in place. Now we're going to practice a very generic way of how to get out of the bed. As we talked about earlier, this may not work for the loved one that you're caring for. One of the rules of thumb is you always want to go toward the strong or the unaffected side. So if the person you're caring for has had a stroke, you would not want to put the wheelchair over here, most likely. Or if they had a broken leg, you might not want to put the chair over here. Again, the situation will be very specific. If you have a half a rail here or one of the hand rails, sometimes those could be nice to hold on to. Again, it's very, very individualized. So here's a few things. I want Sarah we're going to lower the bed a little bit. So Sarah's feet are almost on the floor. A couple of safety things. In the world of physical therapy, sock feet and bare feet are kind of a no-no. You always want to have a non-skid surface on your loved one's feet so they don't slip or slide. Okay. Wheelchairs are like cars. They're all the same, but they're all different. This particular wheelchair has an armrest that goes back. Your loved one may need that armrest so they can push up from it to stand up to move over to the wheelchair. Your loved one may not need that armrest, because if they cannot fully stand, you may need to get that out of the way so they can get their bottom around safely to the chair. So you'll have to discern that for yourself. But for today, we're going to go ahead and leave the armrest in place. All right, so Sarah's sitting at the edge of the bed, which is nice. My recommendation is that she go ahead, I'm going to get her down a little farther so her feet are a little bit closer to the floor. But what I'm going to recommend is I want Sarah to come forward and turn her bottom around. Again, if you have your draw sheet, you can use the draw sheet to assist the person to scoot their bottom around. See my good body mechanics? Tight, tight, knees apart and bent. Let's have her rotate her bottom around like this. There we go. The more turning the person does before they get up, the less turning you have to do when they're on their feet or in the middle of the transfer. Okay, so we're going to turn even a little bit more. There we go. All right, so you have some options here. You can ask Sarah to put her hand on this side of the wheelchair or on this side of the wheelchair. It depends. If she can push up, that's terrific. If she does better reaching, that's terrific. If Sarah is going to push on the chair, go ahead and push on it really hard. Push it. And Sarah's going to push the chair like that, you do not want Sarah's hands on the chair. Okay, but for now we will. All right, so her feet are apart. Her feet are flat on the floor. You don't want the feet to slide out. You don't want the feet to go under. Okay, and then of course you're going to tell her what you're going to do. I typically recommend we're going to stand on a count of 3. You may or may not have a safety belt. If you do, you'd want to have some training in how to use that. Again, if it's appropriate for your loved one, it may or may not be. We're not going to use one today. Okay, I'm going to ask Sarah to push up from the bed. Okay, some people, when you tell them you're going to stand up, like we talked about before, they're going to hold on to you and you're going to hold on to them. Don't let them get you by the neck. Okay, if the person cannot help you stand very well, you could have them hold here. Okay, so Sarah, I'm going to go around her back very gently, and on a count of 3, we're going to stand up. We're going to rock a little. 1, 2, and 3. And as you see, I have my knees in front of Sarah's knees just to give her a little support. And then I'm going to ask Sarah to reach over for the other armrest, and we're going to dance a little bit. Okay, if you help the person shift their weight, you can unweight each leg, which will help them turn around. Now, when Sarah goes to sit down, you want her shoulders forward and her bottom back in the chair. Okay, sometimes people sit down and they are tired or nervous and their shoulders go back first and they sit in the chair. Your job is not done and it's a little unsafe. So make sure that the shoulders are forward. Make sure that the bottom goes to the back of the chair. If they can assist you with reaching back, you want them to assist you. If they're nervous and pushing, again, have them hold on to you. This may look familiar to you. I'd like to show you how to correct it for the safety of the person you're working with and your safety. So you want to make sure that footwear is on, the non-skid footwear is on. You're going to ask the person to bend their knees back. You're going to go in front of them and you're going to put your knees around their knees. If everyone has bony knees, use a pillow as a block. Okay, you're going to ask the person if they can lean forward. Okay, so we're going from behind. So as they lean forward, you're blocking them here so their bottom doesn't slide. If they can help you, have them put their hands on the chair. Again, we're not lifting from under the shoulders. We don't want to hurt the person under the shoulders. Good body mechanics. Tight, tight, knees are bent, feet are apart. You're going to ask the person to help you lift up just a little bit. You're going to lift and you're going to scoot. Okay? So that's what you can do. Now I'm going to have Sarah come forward again just a little bit. Okay? Let's say Sarah can lean forward, but she cannot help you scoot. This is where you want to take your jaw sheet. Same body mechanics. So Sarah can lean forward, but I am going to scoot her bottom to the back of the chair with good body mechanics. If that is too difficult, you could have 2 people, 1 on each side. Good body mechanics, using your jaw sheet. Make sure that your knuckles are up. Make sure that there's no slack in the draw sheet. You want to do a check first because you don't want to pull and have a foot of draw sheet come up. And you say 1, 2, 3. You lift and put the person back into the seat.
Hi, I'm Bonnie STOCKSLAGER, and I'm here to talk about self-care for the caregiver who is giving care to somebody with dementia. One of the toughest jobs on planet Earth, and one of the things that I noticed when I was being a caregiver, first at age 14, to my grandfather, with no one else in the house until I got a break over the weekends, and then later in my 50s when both mother and father developed Alzheimer's. And yes, there were periods of weeks at a time when I was the sole 24/7 caregiver. It ain't easy. I know you've probably heard this before. But there is something to be said for the airplane analogy. If you're the caregiver, you're supposed to put the mask on your own face first. And I know it's true that the first most important role for any caregiver is take care of yourself first. Otherwise, you don't have a self to give to anybody else. But I learned firsthand that that's also the first and most frequently broken rule. And we have to be patient with ourselves. I want to let you know, I like you all very much. Everybody who is a caregiver or has been a caregiver, you're special people. As it happens, I am also a licensed professional counselor in Virginia. I have been since 1988, but I never learned anything from the books or my graduate studies that prepared me for being a caregiver with dementia. We all learn that by the seat of our pants. I am retired from my full-time mental health professional job and currently am a volunteer bereavement counselor with Comfort and Care Support here in Fauquier County. In that capacity, I do have a chance to check in with many, many other people who are grieving the loss of their loved one as they knew him or her long before the death takes place. And I've chatted with them about advices or tips or hints that they have found along the way. And I'm impressed that many of them have not found that much to be truly helpful. For example, one site says about things never to say to a caregiver. You've probably heard some of these yourself. Any sentence that starts with "you should," I would do that differently. You look tired. I'm just too busy to do what you do. But you're the caregiver in the family. One thing we need to keep in mind is we are already strong people. This is one reason why I like caregivers so much, because here are some of the qualities that you have in such a strong degree that makes you a great caregiver. You have initiative. You see a problem developing in its earliest stage, and you start working on solving that problem. You see what needs to be done, and you just do it. You have creativity. You have the ability to take nothing and make something good out of it. You have a sense of humor. Won't last long in this position if you don't. You're able to laugh at yourself, lighten up in the darkest moments, and joke about the chaos that surrounds you. You have a great capacity for cooperation. You can give and take, you're a good team player, and you tend to encourage others. Sometimes we need to spend some of that encouragement on ourselves. You're good with relationships. You relate to others in meaningful ways. You're a warm friend to those in times of trouble. You're industrious. You're a very responsible person. You're not afraid of hard work. You persist longer and stronger than most people. You tend to spirituality and faith. You value and respect life. You trust that whatever awful situation you're in, it will all make sense someday. You spend time in prayer or worship or meditation, and that helps you to keep a healthy perspective. In the book called Strong at the Broken Places, one of the individuals who had not one but two very serious degenerative conditions said, "Religion is for those who are scared of going to hell. Spirituality is for those who've already been there." I like that distinction. It's not so important that you subscribe to a specific religion and practice it regularly, but you know the importance of a deep, true inner spirituality. And you have integrity. You're good-hearted. You naturally lean toward doing the right thing every time. And you do tend to help others more than you even help yourself, if it is at all possible. I mentioned humor being one of the qualities that you folks tend to have, and I found it one of the most important qualities or traits to utilize in the midst of caregiving for dementia. One of the things that made me laugh out loud was when I found the following list of what caregivers should do to take care of themselves. See if you don't find this uproariously funny too. Keep all your own medical, dental, and vision appointments. Exercise on schedule as often as you can, but at least 20 minutes, 3 days a week. Get out of the house and attend a weekly caregiver support group. Keep up with all your own hobbies and interests. Eat healthy foods. Take long, warm baths. Keep your own health, legal, and financial information updated. Spend time with friends. Go to lunch, shopping, movies, a place of worship, to the gym. Do salon visits. Keep a journal and write a daily record of your feelings and emotions. Get help from a mental health professional to understand your feelings. I'm a mental health professional, but you don't need to be a mental health professional or talk to a mental health professional to understand your feelings of anger, of frustration, of fear and anxiety, of the tendency to feel guilty over not being able to be two people, or not being able to be in two places at once, or not being able to get a do-over. Turn back the clock and do the last hour again, this time without yelling at the person you're supposed to be caring for. We don't need any more do lists. We give ourselves enough do lists, and I think you can appreciate those of you who are caring for somebody who's on into middle stages and you're doing a 24/7 thing. This isn't realistic. I do want to say that there might be occasion for you to both deserve and seek out some professional mental health help. For example, depression feelings are not uncommon with what you're trying to do. But if the depression is getting worse and it's affecting your ability to get sleep or to have any appetite, that might be something to get checked out. If the anger is turning into a risk of violence to others, if death wish thoughts are so persistent and just plaguing you, or they're turning into urges to hurt yourself or suicide plans, that's a chance to get some emergency help for yourself, and I hope you do that. if moodiness or anxiety is just wreaking havoc with your physical health, maybe doing a number on your diabetes levels, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, if you find yourself overeating to a dangerous level, or if you're finding yourself self-medicating with alcohol or other drugs, including maybe even self-medicating too much with over-the-counter drugs. Just because they're over-the-counter doesn't mean that they aren't potentially addictive and harmful in higher doses. If that's getting out of control, you want to jump on that soon too. One of the things, in addition to watching out for do lists or hints or suggestions that you might stumble onto that are just not helpful, watch out for people who are unhelpful too. It happens in every extended family, every sizable congregation, every sizable neighborhood or collection of friends, yours or the person for whom you are caregiving. There's got to be at least one person who wants to be an armchair critic. They don't come in and take the risk of getting human feces under their fingernails, do they? They don't really take on any kind of a fair share of the burden. They don't want to listen to you, to give you a shoulder to cry on. But whatever you're doing, it's either too much or too little, or it's both at the same time. You wish they'd make up their minds, don't you? Why do they do that? Well, I come to think that maybe it's because they're scared. They're terrified of their own inadequacies, absolutely frightened of the potential for them to be in your shoes someday. And it's easier for them to project blame and shame and try to get you feeling inadequate than for them to get in touch with their own feelings of fear and inadequacy. So you might want to give yourself permission to just not pay any attention to anything that those individuals have to say. You can try to teach them, you can try to let them know that's not very helpful. What would be helpful would be if, and then offer some suggestion. But it might be that you're dealing with somebody who just isn't able to get into that role of helpfulness and get out of that role of blame and shame and unhelpfulness. As far as criticism from the one who has the dementia, it's part of the disease. So one thing to remind yourself of is to never take anything personally. Always assume first that it is probably someone else's issue or problem and not your own. And if it's the person with dementia that's being critical and unrealistic and laying a guilt trip on you or being unreasonably angry, get yourself the space necessary for personal or physical safety, but also tell yourself that's the brain disease doing the talking. You don't need to listen to it. I know that it's really hard to get help. But honestly, this business of caring for dementia, it's not a solo act. It should never be a one-person gig. And so I thought a lot over the years of caring for my parents, especially, about ways to talk with others that is most likely to work to garner help. One of the things that I decided is that I needed to be more assertive. I needed to be less provisional about, like, is it possible, could you maybe, perhaps, and just say, here's what is needed at the house, like soon. Or just say, I know you can do something to help, and everyone needs to do their part. When you say it that clearly, you're already setting it up for them to agree to something at least. One of the things that you don't want to do is give anybody a pass. Nobody is excused from doing something to help. One way to do that is to try the forced choice question. So that might be something like, okay, Joe, would you rather, with your skills and the ability to use a ladder and so forth, would you rather change the air filter and the HVAC system, change the water filters in the house, change the batteries in the smoke detectors, or would you rather wash the windows? Same with somebody else that might be interested in food and serving food to others. You might ask them, so on either Thursday or Friday, your choice, would you like to bring some cooked dinner over, or do you want to pick something up from the deli? That's what I mean by forced choice. You're giving them some choice in the matter, but it's not an option for them to say no to everything. If they say, oh, I don't know, I don't think I can do that, you don't have to give me an answer right away. Think about it. Sleep on it tonight. Give me a call tomorrow, or I'll call you. Perhaps you'll think of something else that you'd rather do instead. Nobody gets a pass. Even young people, you could say, Susie, would you like to comb Papa's hair? Or to some teenager, you could say, hey, you brought your tablet, good. Here's some websites to go to with some meditation videos. Pick your choice and sit and watch it with Grandma, would you? I called them getting mini self-care moments. Sometimes not even a whole minute. Might just be half a minute. But it can help to have headphones. Ones that can be Wi-Fi'd into maybe a device to play an audiobook, or a device to play soothing music, or an audio meditation. Put them on yourself. Kind of a signal to the person you're caring for, or anybody else who might be around, that you're having a moment. Or put them on the person with the dementia, and then go into another room. Might buy you a little bit of time separate from them. Call someone. Might help to prearrange this. Let them know. I might call you someday, and this is what I'm going to do. You call someone, tell them, I need you right now to read a story, read jokes from a joke book, chat, just talk with him for a few minutes. And then hand the phone to the person with dementia. Go get a quick shower, do whatever you can do to get food on the stove and start cooking, whatever you need to do that you don't want that person just kind of right there getting in the way. The other thing you can do is make yourself one of these. Oftentimes people, even in the middle stages of Alzheimer's, can still read with some comprehension. And you can sit, take a deep, slow breath, close your eyes, either fold your hands or lay them out on the arms of the chair or on your thighs. Maybe you need this sign and the headphones to just send a message that right now, just for a moment, I don't feel like being a caregiver. Right now, just for a moment, I need to just be. I found that one of the blessings of Alzheimer's is that they forget that you've pulled this trick on them already 20 times today. You can do it again as often as you need to. Also, little signs for yourself, prompts, reminders. You might want to have a sign, for example, that just says, this is not your fault, or you are strong, or the circumstances are abnormal, but you are okay. Or, this too shall pass. Or how about, hello dear, I've got this. Love, God. Or just a cute reminder, what will be funny about this 10 years from now? Or since I'm a little bit of a stargazer from time to time and I use that to help get perspective, you're on a spinning blue marble, soaring through a spectacular Milky Way. It's all good. I would have these little Post-it type things in every room, on the refrigerator, on the bathroom mirror, maybe on the door to the bedroom, just wherever, so that I would see them throughout the day. Just little reminders that I am okay, and I will get through this. It's all going to work out. The negative thoughts we tend to have about ourselves, that's all too human. But we do need to watch out for the negative thinking that, like, for example, if I don't do it myself, it won't get done. Well, that might have some truth to it, but it's not 100% true. And we actually fumbled quite a bit when we were first learning how to be a caregiver and deal with the dementia situation. So, of course, others are allowed to fumble and stumble and make mistakes also. So for us to think, well, I have to do it myself or it won't be done right, is not a very helpful thought to have. When you find that you're just loaded with those kinds of negative thoughts, that the anger and frustration is rising, that you're feeling very depressed, very nervous, just in a dark place, that might be a time to take a little mini vacation. Whether you put your do not disturb sign on first, put the headphones on, whatever you do, sit in another room. But it doesn't have to take a long time either. You can just quietly sit, take in a deeper, slower breath, and as you breathe out, pretend that you're blowing out all the tension of the day. Maybe close your eyes or fix your eyes on a spot in the room. Maybe there's some shiny vase or piece of glass that has a reflection of light in it. Just enjoy whatever you see, whatever you notice about the quietness inside. And if you want to go to the beach, you can smell the salt air, hear the sound of the surf. If you want to go sit on a mountaintop, you can have the whole mountain all to yourself. If someone is talking or the telephone is ringing, you don't even have to answer. Just stay and visit in your own quiet. lovely place of rest. That was probably only a couple of minutes of meditating, but I can feel the breathing slowed down. The muscle tension is looser. It's easier to smile. It's easier to feel good throughout my body. There's no one right way to do this. You don't have to follow somebody else's mindfulness meditation practice or progressive relaxation technique. Forget the techniques. Just play with it. I'd like to share some resources with you, and of course you can probably find your own, again, on the internet or talking with other caregivers. One is icarefamily.com. That's funded by the National Institute on Aging and includes a couple of training videos that I like for caregivers. One's called Dealing with Stress, and one is called How to Relax. Caregiver.org is a widely used and widely respected site. This is for the Family Caregiver Alliance. There's a 1-800 number there, 445-8106. And I like the fact sheets, especially one on depression and caregiving and one on grief and loss associated with when you're caregiving a loved one with dementia and you see that progressive decline. That's a grieving situation throughout. Another one is LOTSA Helping Hands, LOTSA helpinghands.com. This is a free online tool for caregivers. You can set up a calendar, a schedule. You can organize volunteers from your place of worship, from the neighborhood. You can communicate needs to the whole group. You can give news to and thanks to family, neighbors, other helpers. Another one is videos.aarp.org. They have a free support line for caregivers, by the way, 877-333-5885. My favorite videos are the 2-minute ones. There's one 2-minute affirmations, and there's a 2-minute guided breathing one on that website. And then, of course, alz.org for the Alzheimer's Association. I haven't really tried this 800-272-3900 number, but it is still advertised as a helpline for caregivers, free and round the clock. Also, their support groups used to all be face-to-face, where you had to go at a specific time to a specific place to benefit from Alzheimer's support groups. Not so much anymore. In fact, most of them are either online or by phone. So you might want to check out whether that would be a possibility of working that into your 36-hour day or 72-hour day or however long it feels for you. Thank you for joining with me, and I wish you the very, very best. Be well.
Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. A huge thank you to Suzanne, Charlene, Marie, and Bonnie, who have all just offered us great tips and tricks about home caregiving. I hope you found something useful that you can take with you today. I also hope that this isn't the last time that we get to see you. We'll definitely have more caregiver cafes, and hopefully soon they'll be in person again. But you can also head over to our website, cstonecares.org, to see other webinars, and you can email caregiving@cornerstoneva.org to connect with us there as well, and let us know how we can be of service to you. Lastly, before we go, I just want to mention that in the month of June, Cornerstone Cares is offering a respite fund for family caregivers living in Fauquier, Culpeper, or Rappahannock counties. If you are a family caregiver living with your loved one, this is a great opportunity for you to pay for care for your loved one so you can just take a break. Isn't that so important these days? Again, thank you so much for being here, and I hope to connect with you soon. I hope you have a great day.